Hello and welcome back to Pod Popper's Place and another Embossing Folder Friday. This year we're starting it off with Anything Goes, and a friend of mine needed a piano or music themed thank you card. So I got out this old Doris folder that has these music notes and sheets kind of on it, and I'm working on a thank you card. And I wanted to do something special, so I'm trying to create a shaker card with the thank you cut out of the center. So I'm lining up these great Tim Holtz dies. They have 96 dies in there, so it's nice you can spell out quite a few words without having to do one at a time. So I'm able to lay this out and then put some washi tape down and cut it all out at once. What's great about this technique is that I have my thank you cut out of my strip, but then I also have the letters cut out of from the dies. So I actually get two thank yous out of one. Now, of course, they both can't be shaker cards necessarily the way I'm making it, but it's great that I can use both the inside and the outside of the die to make two different cards. And because I already have the letters taped together, I just remove it very carefully and put it on my next strip of paper, and it's already ready to go. I don't have to line up the letters again. The only important part is to save the center pieces of letters like A and O so that when you do use this kind of negative background, you have those in there and it doesn't look weird because you're missing those. So I wanted to put this thank you at an angle, and then I decided to cut the background paper at an angle as well, so that the thank you is the part that's showing with the shaker bits behind it. And actually my thank you is cut kind of a little bit long, so I do end up cutting a different one later, you'll see. So I have my diagonal pieces cut, and then I get a nice strong sheet of acetate, and I'm just going to use some double-sided adhesive tape to put my top and bottom diagonal pieces on the acetate sheet. So I'm using a whole sheet here, not just a portion for the window, because I wanted to give it a lot of stability. This is where I could have made a better decision about how I put this together, because it didn't quite line up like I had hoped. But it's one of those projects where I really don't know what I'm doing. I just have an idea and I'm trying to make it work. So I probably made this way harder than it needs to be. But I cut my thank you so that it's angled as well and would fit in that space. And then I used both liquid adhesive and a double-sided tape to stick that down really well on the acetate. I don't want it to move. And I also add the little bits for the inside of the A and the O. Of course, I made a little bit of a mess with this glue trying to get these in position, and I end up getting some glue on my paper and trying to erase that. I made some little blemishes on my paper, so I will cover that up with something a little bit later. I hate it when that happens, but that's the fun thing about crafting, I guess, is that you can always add some bling to it and cover up little mistakes and nobody will ever know. So here I'm adding my frame, and this has to be on there because I need more space to put my foam tape, and it's showing a little bit where my T and my U are. So I'm just using some scissors to kind of cut some angles out of there so that when you have this lined up, the white won't show through the window. I do use a lot of double-sided adhesive for this project just because I want everything to stay together well. And although glue does usually stay pretty well, I feel like with shaker pieces, the tape is just a little bit more secure. So I'm putting my window onto the white frame, and of course I didn't line it up well, and the top is not showing hardly any white on the frame. But when I add this colorful background to it, you won't hopefully really notice. And then I'm just going to cut my foam tape at an angle so that there's foam tape all over the back of it except for my window where I want the bits to be behind the thank you. I end up using two different sizes or widths of foam tape so that I can get it around the thank you, because it is kind of a thin size frame, but it worked out well. And then I use a whole lot of anti-static powder because I always have static in my little windows, and it drives me bonkers. And I really like things to move around well, so I'm trying to use a lot of that. And then I try to figure out where my window is going to kind of be so that I can put my bits directly on the paper. And some of these bits, this is from Paper Playground, I think. I'm not sure if that's exactly what it's called, but I think they went out of business, unfortunately, on Etsy. But it's really cute. It has lots of little fun things in it and some little music notes, but it has these big hearts, and I had to take those out because they were too thick for the foam that I use. I didn't double that up. So, and then I get out these little beads, and I just feel like these little beads really help things move around a little bit better. So I might have added too many pieces for this window because things kind of get stuck a little bit at first, and I can't really get it to move around as much as I would like. But later, after I was done filming, I did get it dislodged. There was like a little stack that was kind of stuck, and I did get it dislodged, and everything's moving around better now. So at the very end here, I do add a stamp of the piano. I don't show coloring and putting that together on camera, but I stamped it, and then after I let it dry, because I got it way too inky, I colored it with some alcohol markers, and then I did cut it out by hand. I cut out the piano and the little bench out by hand. They weren't too bad to cut out, and I don't have a die cut for this, but I thought it added a little something, especially since this is supposed to be a musical thank you card. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you come again next month.